So welcome to another episode of Are You Mad at Me podcast. I just had to check myself just now. I should write it down on a piece of paper where I am this week.
Where are you? You were at the Are You Mad at Me podcast.
It brings back my memories of being a temp when I couldn't remember where I was from week to week and from day to day, really. And so I had to write down when I was answering all those phones. Doing God's work, really.
Doing God's work.
Because who would have answered those phones if I wasn't there? And you guessed it. An answering machine. Right?
The person that was being called.
What?
Well, the person that was being called, like they could just answer their own phones.
Yes, but then why would you need a girl around?
A girl.
Staticky clothes. Anyway, welcome. It's been a crazy week. It is, of course, very late on Tuesday night. I said just a few minutes ago, hey, we should do a podcast.
We're doing the podcast super duper early for next week.
No, we're going to post it tomorrow.
Except we're going to post it tomorrow morning.
We are. Because, but I've, like...
This is almost like live news. Like
I had the best intentions.
The most up to date.
That's right. I had the best intentions this weekend. Like Friday, I was like, we're going to get ahead of it. We're going to do a podcast early, and then we don't have to be doing the captions on Monday night or Tuesday night. And it's still Tuesday, so happy anniversary to us.
It is
18 years, man.
Yeah, it's not that late. It's still today.
We've had a full day, and I was thinking, I just got out of the shower and I was ready to go to bed, and that's why I'm in sweatpants and my favorite Petty Harper shirt.
So the people that are listening on Spotify might not even know that
they don't care. That's right. This is a podcast.
This is a podcast.
We just
happen to do video.
What do you call the people? The voyeuristic people? Is that the ones that want to watch?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the voyeuristic people. We got a treat coming up for you. I got an idea for how we should end the podcast.
A visual.
Yeah. So what was I saying? Oh yeah. So I got my favorite Alan Dewalt t-shirt and my favorite Costco sweatpants, which is my uniform basically. This is how I live. And I was thinking that I think because it's been 18 years, I think hear me out on this.
You haven't said that yet. Today's our
18th anniversary.
18th anniversary. We got married 18 years ago.
Here's what I think. Here's my theory on. I think just like when people go to Alcoholics Anonymous and they get a chip for how long they've been on the wagon.
On the wagon. I think you're on the wagon when you're sober, because they say you fell off the wagon, and that's a bad thing.
Okay, so I think I should get a chip for every year that I did not succumb to my asshole addiction. I have been clean and clear of assholes for 18 years. Evidence right here. He's awesome.
I'm only slightly an asshole sometimes.
You're not an asshole. So you're missing my point.
Sorry.
I got clean of crappy relationships. I think that's really good.
I'm proud of you.
Awesome. And thanks you for contributing to my, not sobriety, but what's the clean living? I don't know. What's clean living.
The best revenge is living well. That doesn't apply.
It doesn't apply.
It's
too late for that. So welcome to any new listeners. This is how it is. It's not going to get any better. This is what you're in for.
But it's not going to get any worse.
But I figured we should just bang out a quick episode just to say that we put them out on Wednesdays and keep the train going. But I do have some ideas. And I actually literally just before I got in the shower, I said, we should do a podcast before we go to bed. And then he...
I figured this week might be a wash until you said that, and I was like, all right.
Yeah. Do you know why I came downstairs with a pile of dresses in my hand?
Not to do a podcast.
No. I'm headlining tomorrow night. So you guys can help me by a show of applause. By
a show of comments and follows and likes.
Yeah. Let me know which jokes I should put in the headline act tomorrow night, because it's like 20 minutes. It's going to be awesome. I'm really excited about it. I've been doing a lot of research.
We should settle on that for a minute, because that's a pretty huge deal that you're headlining a comedy show tomorrow night.
Yeah. I got some friends coming. Got some cousins coming, and some who are also friends. And it's going to be awesome. I'm not sure what's wrong with our dog all of a sudden.
Maybe.
Does she smell something outside?
Well, I got the window cracked because it's warm down here, and
it's 10 degrees in Canadian.
I bet there's a cat out in the yard she smells.
Yeah.
Go away. You're fine.
So that's kind of funny, because why would you have your window open on the 17th of December? It's bonkers. Oh, is she just trying to get up on the couch?
Maybe.
So if you're looking for a beagle update, this little one had a seizure today. Super gross.
She's our puppy. She's 2 years old, and she had a seizure. And we have an old dog that has had seizures for several years, 5 or 6 years, and he has them maybe once a month or once every 2 months. And
yeah, we've got another beagle that doesn't have any.
Yeah.
Ever. So
but this one had one this morning, and she's totally fine.
Scary. She was a little groggy for her personality changed for a few hours.
Can you guys relax and just settle in?
So anyway, I brought down. I'm gonna also get you got everybody's opinion on what I should wear tomorrow night because it is ladies' night at Last Minute Comedy, and I was invited to.
Sorry.
Is she talking?
Full on sniffing
she
into
talks.
the microphone.
Maybe.
Can you go?
Can you talk? Let her talk. Maybe. Can you talk? Come here. Talk into my mic. Can you talk? Do you know how to talk? Come on, talk for me. Can you talk? Come on, who's my?
This might all be edited out.
Talk? Can you talk?
Don't make a fool out of us, maybe.
Can you talk? Oh, talk for me. Talk into the microphone. Come on, you can do it. Oh, she has a very sweet little voice, and she does talk. All three dogs communicate in different ways. She's maybe is into aggressive cuddling. If you are not watching the podcast, she is on my neck right now,
pressing
shoving herself
into Vickie's chest.
Into my chest. Maybe do you want to talk? Say, oh, you almost did it. Say, ow. Can you talk? Can you talk? So essentially, she yawns and she says, ow. Can you do that? Can you yawn? Can you say, ow? Can you talk?
Maybe can you stop bogarting our podcast and go lay down?
Talk. She wants to show off. Ow. You almost did it. Ow. Good girl. And
the tiniest little talk.
She loves praise and it encourages her to do whatever the thing is that she just did. And if you encourage her, she's like, yes, I'm going to do that again. Where was I? So I brought down a stack of dresses. So tomorrow's show.
You're headlining a comedy show tomorrow night.
It's
Last Minute Comedy.
It's called Last Minute Comedy, and it's put off by our buddy Josh Mentions. And of course, Ladies' Night is something that he started doing back in July, which prompted me to. I was going to try Ladies' Night for the first time.
Yeah, that was kind of the first. That was going to be your first time.
And by the time Ladies' Night came along, I think I had done.
You'd already done a couple.
4 or 5 sets. Yeah. So I got some holiday dresses because it is a holiday theme, and I'm trying to figure out if I should even wear a dress. I don't know, but it's holiday themed, so I feel like I should put in some kind of a. But I got all these a few years ago, and I think I haven't even worn some of them. So this is, of course, if you're not new to me, you know I have an alter ego that is Ginger Sparkledust, and she wears this dress.
She's a Christmas elf.
She's a Christmas elf, and she wears this dress that basically is like a 3D Christmas tree, and it's super cute. She is a different personality, and she's she's not really afraid of much, and she. Putting on that Ginger Sparkledust outfit really brings out a side of me that I don't know if the comedy world is ready for it. But anyway, here's a different dress. This one is kind of like a red tartan kind of plaid-y thing, and it looks like it's got snow splashed on the bottom of it, so that's kind of cute.
Did you make all these?
I didn't make any of these. I got these from Amazon.
Oh.
And this one here, this one is a brand new invention. I mean, not the dress. Dresses have been around for a long time. This is the outfit of Ginger Sparkledust's cousin.
Evil twin sister.
No, cousin. Seasonal depression. We call her Seasonal D for short. So I'm not sure if I'm going to wear my Seasonal D outfit or my Ginger Sparkledust or just a pair of jeans and a t-shirt.
We'll have to link some videos that you've done with these characters on YouTube or wherever.
Yeah. And I have a funny Ginger Sparkledust story. Do you want to hear it? You already know it, but for anyone that's listening.
Yeah.
So many moons ago, children try to imagine. There was did people remember television? There used to be television stations where they would broadcast all day long, and they would have commercials and they would have programming, and you had to be in front of the TV at the time it was on to enjoy something. So that also loaned itself to live television. So I went into Rogers Television 4 or 5 years ago, I guess. And it was to answer phones for the Santa Claus call-in show where you could actually talk to Santa. So
for folks that aren't in St. John's or Newfoundland, kids can call in during this live show and
tell Santa what they want.
Santa Claus is in the studio and they can ask Santa what they want for Christmas.
And so I was excited to be home in Newfoundland, and so I volunteered to go in and answer the calls. And, I mean, there was maybe 6 or 7 of us, and so I thought it was a Santa thing, and the studio was all decorated beautifully, and I wore everything I had that had a splash of red or green on it, and so I went in with these big elf shoes and striped green and white leggings and the Ginger Sparkledust dress, and I put on a hat, like a goofy little elf hat or whatever. And when I arrived at the studio, except for Santa Claus, I was the only person dressed up.
Like Pam in The Office when she dressed up like Charlie Chaplin.
Sure. And if that helps. And so the producer at the time was like, we're going to need to get you on camera. And I was like, I'm here to answer phones, but I'm never one to turn down an opportunity to be on camera. So what happened that night was we got kind of goofy in the control room. And when it was time for me to go on and hang out with Mr. and Mrs. Claus, the producer whispered in my ear, "Go be a little asshole." And so earlier that day, I had done one of those elf generator names, and it came up Ginger Sparkledust. And it was like I wasn't planning on doing anything like that. It just so happened that I had done the little silly thing on Facebook. And so when he said, "What should I call you?" I said,
already had a name
Ginger
ready.
Sparkledust. So I had a blast that night. I was picking on Mrs. Claus and flirting with Santa, and it was a pretty good time. And so then the following year, I was invited back, and instead of being in the control room answering phones, they put me on the live broadcast on purpose
as Ginger Sparkledust.
Yeah, so I went back and I had some props. I had this big roll of like big giant 2-foot wide roll of paper, like to put my Christmas list on, and we had this great overhead shot where the thing rolled out across the floor. When Santa asked me what I wanted, I said, "Oh, I got a couple of things, Santa," and I pull up this big roll, and we had a boom. We had to put a camera on a boom that night, and we planned that shot, and it was really fun. Like I was getting,
That was a fun call-in show.
Eating candy off the set and bringing stuff out of the staff refrigerator and making union jokes and things like that. It went really, really well. And the following year, there was no appearance. It was 2 hours of live. I was on.
You were on the whole time.
I was on the whole time.
As Ginger Sparkledust, not you were just a character the whole time.
Just stayed in character the whole time. I had a blast.
Which is hard. Like, that's a lot of work.
I was intimidated at the idea of it, and I thought, I'm not going to last. There's no way. But it was solid. It was a good 2 hours.
When you're performing, 2 hours goes by pretty fast.
Well, yeah, and there's not much time. There's not much time to think, and it went really, 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 really well.
Yeah.
So the fourth year, I had been buying props and planning different little things I was going to do, and I got a call. You were just
ready to go back again.
Oh, more than ready. I was like, this is my life. I was talking about doing a show as Ginger Sparkledust. It was going to be like she was going to go help local businesses and promote what they were doing.
Like a show on that channel.
Yeah.
You were going to do a show.
I was full on into Ginger Sparkledust, and I got a call that they didn't need me for my volunteer.
Your services were not
as a
required.
Volunteer character on a cable access Santa call-in show. I was devastated. I mean, I know that doesn't, like, when I say it out loud, it's like, what? But if I'm being kind to myself, I would say, yeah, I could see why that would be devastating, because I loved it and I was good at it.
It was fun and you were excited about it.
And there was a lot of people watching that I was inviting specifically, like, I'm going to be on tonight. Make sure your kids are watching. Make sure they call in, talk to Santa. Like, I feel like I drummed up a little business for the old guy. Well, for the station, Santa does his own thing. He's got his own following. But for me, like, there wasn't a whole lot of people watching that broadcast, if I'm being
It made it a pretty exciting, it made for a much more exciting, because otherwise it was just Santa and Mrs. Claus sitting there for 2 hours talking to when a kid would call in. Otherwise, they were just sitting there.
Yeah.
They're nice people and all, but it was
pretty interactive. Like, there was a lot of
you made it fun.
Acrobatics, and it was pretty funny.
And
we all had a
silly.
pretty good time. Yeah, and the producers got pretty involved. They were like, they'd throw out ideas, and they were like, "Here, go try this," and I was up for anything. So it was a really good time. So again, I was shocked and devastated when they decided they were going to go with some pre-taped things from a daycare, and they just cut me. They just didn't need me, and I thought they were calling to say, "Hey, can you help us pick out the volunteer gift for this year?" And it was like, no, that's not it at all. I thought she might have been calling saying, "We're ready for a spinoff this year, or in the new year, let's talk about a Ginger Sparkledust show." That was the station manager. And anyway, I talked about it in my book, How to Fail at Documentary Filmmaking. I did change the names of the station manager, and I did change Santa Claus's name so he wouldn't recognize himself in the story. Just kidding. But when that book came out this year.
It was the Easter Bunny in the book.
When the book came out last year, has it been out for over a year now?
It's been a year, yeah.
I thought it was going to be a scandal. I thought I put so many stories in that book of real things that happened, and I changed names. I left in famous names because I knew they wouldn't. I didn't think they'd care. Turns out they didn't read it either. But the people that I did change their names, nobody read it. It was great. Nobody has any idea that I wrote these stories about them.
It was great that you didn't get sued, you mean? There's no chance of me getting sued because it's a fiction. I called it a fiction book, and I changed everybody's name. So covered, self-publishing, hello. It was all made up.
It wasn't. It was all word for word true, but I changed all their names and I called it fiction. So there's really no, anyway. But it did not cause a big splash. Anyway, the day that I got let go, when I was thinking, of course, that it was going to be a callback and a triumphant return in a fourth year in a row, I was pretty devastated and pretty sad. And so I may or may not, but I definitely did, make a video of Ginger Sparkledust. Well, she starts off by the tree.
It starts off with you crying in the shower. Ginger Sparkledust.
Crying in the shower.
I just saw it the other day because I was looking for a video of
I did a shower scene. It was pretty awesome. And then you can see her in front of the tree, and she's got all these phones, and she's calling and doing all these voices, complaining complaining, I'm using air quotes here, to the station saying, I can't believe you guys let Ginger Sparkledust go. She was the best part of the show.
Bring Ginger Sparkledust back.
And then, of course, Paula showed up, my puppet character. And we together may have mimed pooping in a box and wrapping it up and dropping it off at the station for the station manager.
We did actually go over to the TV station at night and pretend to be leaving something at the door. It was a present.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
It felt good. You know what I'm finding out, though, is
we didn't actually leave a box of poop on the
I don't poop in
station
boxes.
Door. Not anymore. That was one time.
I didn't poop in the box. But anyway, it was pretty fun. And it made me feel better, which kind of leads me to, I've got a show tomorrow.
Yep.
And I got some ideas for bits that I'm going to do because it helps. I've been doing that this year where it's a really good way to process stuff and to laugh with strangers about your life is pretty fun. It's the same as writing a song. It helps you, it helps process. For me, it helps me process things, to put it in a little compartment and share it with people, because a lot of times it's how I connect with people. And I especially love doing comedy.
And we keep hearing comedians talking about working stuff out on stage, like having stuff going on in their lives and going on stage and talking about it, making it into a joke, and And I think I'm
learning a lot too about how comedians see the world, that they kind of go through the world like looking for jokes.
Looking for material.
Yeah, and they look at things a little bit differently, and it is a lighter, it definitely makes things lighter to be able to make a joke about it.
Well, if something terrible is happening, and it's like, this is going to be great material for next time I'm on stage, that's a lot better than...
Well, I think zooming out. Our friend Donnie says, let's zoom out, and it's to make yourself just get perspective.
Yeah.
And I think laughing about it. That doesn't mean I'm making jokes about really inappropriate things. I mean, sometimes I do, but I think I'm really enjoying comedy. I really, really enjoy being up, and the idea too that everybody, I would say a good 80% of the people that are going to be in that room tomorrow are probably stressed out about Christmas, just like everybody else. And so to be able to take them away from that for 15 or 20 minutes. And of course, I have a show on Thursday also, which is a busy week. Leading up to Christmas is kind of funny.
Yeah. So our anniversary and then 2 comedy shows in a row.
Yeah. But to be able to take people away from their everyday stress for just a few minutes is kind of fun. Just like this podcast. Like this is you're doing the dishes and normally you're listening to your own thoughts, but you listen to a couple of idiots talking, and I'm sorry, I don't know. We're idiots. Who are you kidding? We're a couple of idiots, and that's great. So being able to take people out of their reality for a little while, and maybe sometimes it's just to say, man, their lives are just kind of messed up. My life's better than that, and that's great. That's what we're here for.
Maybe we can talk about what we did today, and that would make people feel better about their lives.
Okay. I feel like I'm talking a lot, so feel free to.
So today was our anniversary. It has been our 18th wedding anniversary today.
Mm-hmm. Happy. So I will say before you go on with this story, thank you for not posting anything on Facebook. We were very busy all day.
I posted it in my mind, right? I had the whole...
I wasn't being sarcastic.
I know.
Okay.
I'm saying I posted it in my mind to the love of my life, 18 years, and then I just let it go into the fake internet ether in my brain.
But you lived it.
And we had a good day
Instead of
together.
putting a big flowery post on Facebook about blah, 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 you lived it. And we had a great day. I thought we had a great day. We did get into a little thing. Should we talk about it? It wasn't us. We didn't get in a fight. We're solid. Okay.
So
for our American listeners,
you worked this morning. So you had this the morning of you had work, and then
I had meetings this morning.
When you came home, we decided to go have an anniversary lunch instead of waiting until dinner time, because we figured when you got home from
it was nice out.
When you got home from work, you'd be hungry, so we go have lunch. It's nice out. It's going to be dark at 4:30, so 4 now. Really, it's dark early. So anyway. When you got home, we decided to go to our favorite restaurant in town, which is like
45-minute
walk away.
Uphill.
Which that is how we measure things now. When our car is immobile and covered in Christmas lights in our driveway.
The trashiest thing I've ever seen. Also, one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. But we did decorate the car.
Covered our car in Christmas
we decorated the car in the driveway because it is not moving ever again, and it's fantastic. We immediately, one of our neighbors walked by and said, "Sick." I take that as a huge compliment because she's really cool. So anyway, so we walk up to the restaurant all the way uphill.
45 minutes is pretty much. I mean, it's down. Yeah, it's
uphill.
It's up and down. the kids were like, by the time we got most of the way there, the kids were like, can we call an Uber for this last,
And I did not want to piss off
meters.
an Uber driver by asking for a 50-yard ride. So
yeah, we went and had a really lovely lunch with the boys, and then it was really great.
So
I was just starting to tell you this before, and you told me to save it for the podcast. I went to the bathroom.
Hold on. Go. Okay, so I told Josh I wanted to talk about tissue, and here's why. So I sit on a board. I sit on a provincial board so if you apply for income support here in Newfoundland and something goes wrong, or if something goes wrong with your case, you can appeal it. If the government makes a decision that you don't agree with, it's not the final end. It's not the end of the road. There's an appeal board where you can present your case, and the department will show up and they will present their case, and then we, as an independent board, decide whether or not we're going to stick with the decision of the department or overturn it and rule in favor of. It's a big responsibility, and it's a wonderful opportunity to actually make a small difference. It's really, really nice. And so full disclosure, I sit on the board as a person. They want different experiences at the table to make sure people are represented. And so they have at least, I'm going to say one so that I don't say anything about anybody else's past experiences, but I am there because I have past experience having been a recipient of social assistance. So what I bring to the table is I have been there.
Know what it's like to be there and
exactly.
go through the application process.
So I can tell you that there are some people on there who have never, ever, and they're there for their expertise. But I am there you can kind of tell which way I go most of the time.
I have no idea how tissue is going to factor into this conversation.
So I noticed, I used the washroom there today. It was government building. It's a social, now it's called income support. I used the washroom there today. And the tissue paper, the paper, like, what do you call it? Toilet paper, was translucent. It was like if they took it out of the printer and then sliced it horizontally, across the main plane. If they sliced a regular sheet of paper into 5 layers and then made tissue paper out of it, that's how thin it was. It was like you take off a bit and it would like disintegrate in your fingers. And I was reminded of how people treat you. How the tissue that they put out is really kind of represents what they think of you, because when you go to Costco,
well, this office that you go to is a place where people can go and like use the computer to apply for jobs. Yeah. It's like a a job center.
It's off the beaten path. It's almost impossible to get to by bus.
So the people that would be here using these washrooms would be people who are applying, for work, trying to can't do it at home.
Yeah.
Maybe
so first of all,
phone.
it's in a place that is just so far out in an industrial park that there's no way a person who's unemployed is going to be able to get there. So let's put that barrier out there just to start off. But the tissue paper in the building was invisible,
pitiful, cheap.
But I was thinking about the difference of when we go to Costco, and I use the washroom. It's like if you rolled a blanket and put it in. It is like, we are going to take care of your butthole. Oh my God, it's going to be so great. Like, we want you to be as comfortable as possible at Costco, right? The polar opposite. You couldn't be further away. I mean, Costco is actually not far down the road from this office, but it was I just was noticeable that there was such a difference, and how it felt to be using that tissue. Like, I'm in there. I have been in that office, that exact office, as a recipient. I remember one year, Christmas Eve, I got my first welfare check, and I was buying a present for my boyfriend at the time out of a welfare check. I mean, it was the most degrading, demeaning. I thought, it's never, ever going to get worse than this. It can only be up from here. It was pretty bad. It was a pretty bad day for me. But I mean, at the time, I didn't think it was a bad day because I had this relief of I finally got some help.
A little bit of money.
Because this was many, many years ago. But I remember Christmas Eve coming home on the bus from Mount Pearl with a social assistance check trying to go change it. Like I said, I don't know if I even had a bank account back then. But anyway, miserable. It was miserable all around. And of course, going back to my addiction to not very nice dudes. I shouldn't have even been buying them presents, really, when you think about it. But anyway, whatever. We move on.
So that tissue was a representative.
But that was why I wanted to talk about tissue on the podcast, because I think just the difference in how it feels when I know there's someone making that decision. Like, you know what, it's fine as long as there's something there that resembles a roll of tissue paper, toilet paper. It's fine for them, and that's disgusting. If I could wave a wand, I know it's a tiny one, but I would put better toilet paper in the...
Where it matters.
Well, it's a demeaning... Nobody wants to be in that office. Nobody enjoys applying for social assistance. I don't care who you are. And
it's ironic that you had that happened. You noticed that today, and then we went to that restaurant, which was a really nice restaurant. We had a really great meal, and then I went in the bathroom before we left and needed to blow my nose, and nobody has paper towels anymore in bathrooms. It's just
you could have put your face over the air dryer.
Yeah.
Put your nose down in the hand dryer.
So I went in to get some toilet paper, and it was the same. It was like, it reminded me of that paper ribbon that you get for parties, but like...
Oh, crepe paper?
Crepe paper, yeah.
That's a good description. If someone ironed it.
Even thinner, like half of that, like you said. But it was like, I had to like get a whole big bundle of it and bundle it up into a big pile to blow my...
Was it at least perforated?
No, I don't think it was even perforated. It was just like a long string of really terrible, like...
It's the little things.
We've been in places too now lately that they have, when you pull off some toilet paper, it's little sheets.
Yeah.
They come off like little, like, what am I supposed to do with this little sheet? Are you really holding on to that much money that you need?
How much are you really saving?
Is this saving you? Anyway.
And
we had a really great meal.
And maybe it's some kind of a biodegradable thing. But you know what's the only thing I've ever seen worse than that is camper toilet paper. Those stuff for
that makes
chemical
sense,
toilets.
because that's like, you got a chemical toilet. You're out camping. You're in your RV, whatever, and you need like...
That's our segment on toilet paper. That's going to be our topic for today. How's it going?
Good so far. This is weird. So after we had a really good...
Oh, I forgot. Yeah,
so
yeah. There was more of an adventure.
We had a really good meal, and then so afterwards we were like, well, it's a 45-minute walk to get here. It's where Walmart and Canadian Tire and Bulk Barn and all the stores that we like to go to are here. We're like, while we're over here, let's walk a little bit farther.
We're on week 6 without a car.
Yeah.
Just in case anyone's counting.
Which I've been enjoying.
I love it.
Because we're getting so much exercise.
Yeah.
So we went to Canadian Tire because the boys need boots for the winter because they're growing like weeds, and it's like no matter how nice of a pair of boots we buy for them, they're just going to need another one next winter.
It's been like that since birth. Like the Oshkosh store, when we lived in Maine, I lived at the Oshkosh store, the outlet store.
It was great to have an outlet there.
And I couldn't keep the stuff. And of course, it was a little bit fun. Like when the baby came along, there was a lot of stuff left over. So the Oshkosh stuff is fantastic, and you can hang on to it for years.
And Carter's, that was the same store.
Yeah,
Oshkosh
well, it didn't
Carter's.
last long because they would grow so fast. Like I never ever, so there's preemie, and then there's like the first size. Our babies came out in the 3 months close.
So we have a thing going on
giants.
In Canada right now where there's no tax until like the beginning of January. There's no sales tax.
And just just not that this is a political podcast, but the finance minister or deputy prime minister, same person, quit. She was so mad about this policy about the tax thing that she quit yesterday. So that's the news. That's our segment.
So as far as we know, down all the way down the hill at the lowly consumer level, there was no tax. So we were like, oh great, let's go get some boots for the kids.
They made a big deal that there will be no tax if you waited till the 15th to shop. Now we didn't wait on purpose. We just happened to.
The boys need some boots.
Be in a store on the 17th.
So we figured we're at Canadian Tire. Let's go in and get some boots. They got nice stuff there. So we went in and found these fantastic boots. The boys were both happy with. Which is really, this was funny too, by the way, because Henry, you could wrap his feet in plastic grocery bags and he's fine. So he'll just literally, we'll just get him something that is warm and he's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, he's fine. We didn't get grocery bags for him.
Peter went through a few pairs of boots and they were all like Goldilocks. Like this one's a little bit too tight. This one's a little bit too short. This one, the insole's folded up. He's like very tactile. He knows what he wants and he doesn't settle, which is
Cinderella,
great.
not Goldilocks.
No, Goldilocks. The porridge is a little bit too hot, a little bit too cold.
I was thinking of Cinderella trying on the shoes.
Yeah. Like
okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
You can same idea.
So he said, you know what I really want is some rubber boots, which are fantastic for when it's wet out. But when it's, minus 20 and there's a foot of snow, it's like your feet are going to freeze. Yeah. So we settled on rubber boots.
for him, for the youngest.
We figured we'll just load his feet full of socks. And he'll just
and toe warmers.
And toe warmers.
He'll be fine. He is actually like you. He's very
and he was
warm.
Literally like a little leprechaun dancing around. So the funny thing is they're 10 and 13, and they're both in size 12 or 13 shoes. This is adult size 12 or 13 shoes. Like there's a lot of adults that are actual adults.
Newfoundland.
that wears 6 and 7 and 8 and 9, which is fine. It's fine if you're into that sort of thing.
I have a brother that wears 8.5s, even though he's only a size 7 because he wants his feet to look bigger. But anyway,
so our 2 kids are in 12 and 13, and it's like, yeah, we're obviously in the biggest. Like, so it's going to be hard for them to buy shoes. It's hard for me to buy shoes because you have to go in and say, how big do your shoes get here? Like you have to go in and say, how small do your shoes get here?
How many pink bows are on your girl shoes?
Yeah.
Do they light up? Do they sing songs when you squeak?
We found boots. The boys were happy. Henry didn't care. He got some boots that are great. Peter is so happy with his rubber boots. And we get up to the register, and there's tax. And we're like, well, there's not supposed to be any tax. And the girl, this like 15-year-old girl that worked at Canadian Tire, was like, yeah, I guess there's not tax. I guess there's tax on some things. Oh, well. That was a direct quote. She said, I guess there's tax on some things. Oh, well.
Oh, well.
Like, your family has money, don't they?
And I said, well, there's not supposed to be. And then she proceeded to show us.
To scan them again and show us, see, this one has this much tax.
This one has this much tax. Yeah. Thank you for the math lesson.
We had already purchased the boots, so we just went over to customer service and we said, there's what's going on. And we passed a sign on the way that said, no tax, tax-free, Merry Christmas, there's no
From
tax.
December 15th until January
and then we noticed a fine print that said, only on these items, food, blah, 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 whatever, and
educational toys,
children's clothing and footwear. And we were like, well, that's pretty close because these size 12 and 13 boots are for our children. But they're not children's. So we got over there, and the very gruff and upsetting lady at customer service,
her Shannon,
at customer service, was said, "Oh, there's nothing we can do about that. There's nothing we can do about that. That's the taxes. That's the government. Nothing we can do about that. They're not child sizes."
You can do the accent if you want.
No, I can't. So
it's okay.
She said, "There's nothing we can do about that." So Vickie said, "Obviously, you have a boss. Where is this person?" And she said, "Well, I'll call him." And so, okay, great. And so we heard her on the phone going, "These people don't want to pay tax." Yeah. No, I told them that. No, well, okay. All right. Thank you. We'll see you. She said, well, he's on his way. And then, so we waited for a few minutes, and our boys are like,
mortified.
Don't cause a scene. Don't cause a scene. And we're not
they
causing
went
a scene.
Outside.
We just thought
they were so embarrassed.
We came all the way out here. We got to get some boots. So we talked to the guy, the manager. I don't know if he was the store owner or
he's the store manager,
general manager or whatever. He ended up saying, like, explaining that, there's nothing, we're like, obviously there's nothing you can do to change the tax laws in the country, but we came all the way, we came all the way here and we got some boots for our kids, and then we had to pay for tax, and we didn't know, is there any,
Tax, by the way, in Canada right now is 15%.
Yeah, so, yeah.
And they're making I don't know how much they're spending on the advertising campaign to let people know there's no tax.
Yeah. So it was a little tricky.
Restaurants, like everywhere, restaurants and food, like all the stuff that would have had tax on it. They were encouraging people to wait to do their Christmas shopping because there was zero tax.
Yeah.
Like the whole mall, zero tax.
And there wasn't any it's only on some things.
Yeah.
So anyway, he ended up being very nice and saying, even though there's nothing we can do about the taxes, I'll give you a refund for the amount that the taxes were, and sorry for the confusion, sorry for the trouble. He was very nice, and
and he didn't have to do that.
He didn't have to do that. We got some nice winter boots, warm or not, whatever. We'll find out in a couple months. But the boys have boots, and what
an adventure.
It was.
I just found it funny that the customer service manager had such a chip on her shoulder. Like we were trying to, I don't know, scam Canadian Tire. Like, no, there's a sign that says children's boots. Yeah, well, they're men's sizes. Okay, but
Nothing
that's a 10-year-old. That's a 10-year-old and that's a 13-year-old. Like, there's got to be some leeway. It's not their fault that they look as big as they do, that they're as tall as they are and they have such big feet. I don't know. It was one of those things like, are we being I don't want to say, are you being a Karen? There's got to be a new name because I know some really nice Karens. But it was disheartening to see. We don't usually encounter people who are that grumpy, especially a week before Christmas.
It's a rough time to be in a store. And we were also talking about this on the way home. We're pretty spoiled lately because we've been using Instacart a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't go into stores anymore because we don't have a car. So we just order from Instacart and get stuff from Costco and Walmart and No Frills and Dominion and every place that we shop. And today we're in stores and was like, oh, this is terrible. We're dealing with people again.
This is why we hate talking to customers. I mean, it was just, but that's not, to be fair, everyone we've encountered over the last few weeks when we do has been wonderful. Like people have been so wonderful and warm, and like all the drivers are great, and it's been really wonderful. It was really surprising to run into somebody We usually repel people like that, but it was like, what I did ask Josh if he thought it would be okay if I gave Shannon a little wink on the way out the door as her boss was refunding the tax money. And I get it. Like, I know they couldn't not charge us tax, but it was...
Yeah, we don't expect them to not charge us tax.
I also know it's a key flick to change it. Like, it's, it's Christmas and it's only this temporary, like this thing that's going on with the no tax thing. I don't know why they had a policy that there's only certain things, because the mall is all no tax.
Yeah. And that's a good point too.
Are we being assholes? My son looks at a lot of stuff on, is it Reddit or?
Am I the asshole?
Am I the, what's the abbreviation? AITA. Yeah. And maybe we are. Leave it in the comments if you think we are, and then, just toddle on.
Unfollow us.
Because I think it was one of the, like, the boys were mortified, and I was reminded of times that I remember being a kid going around with my mom, and she was pretty tenacious. Like, she was a person that there was a lot of stories. I feel like it happened a lot where she would blow up with a like a retail person
clerk.
And I didn't understand at the time why she was yelling. It just didn't make any sense to me, and I'd be so embarrassed. But when I look back, like, there was one story, I remember we had walked downtown to go shopping, and this was when the downtown area of St. John's was like had stores that normal people could shop in.
It was like one of
department stores.
It was like one of those old Christmas movies.
Very much so. Yeah, there was the arcade. It was like lots of like little jumble sales, and Woolworths was down there, predecessor of Woolco, which is the predecessor of Walmart here in Newfoundland anyway. And so we went and did Christmas shopping, and we had a great time, and we went to the little cafe in Woolworths and had a little plate of French fries and a glass of Pepsi and whatever, and we were having a wonderful time. And at the end of the evening, my mom had called a taxi, and so it was like, whatever time it was, 8-9 o'clock in late December, and I was a little girl, and my mom is the same size I am right now, but she had this little girl with her, and so she's loaded down with parcels, and she called a taxi, and we're waiting out in the porch, and it was busy time, so we were waiting for a few minutes for the taxi. And this young dude comes out and says,
"This is somebody that worked at the store."
He was the store manager, and he came out and he said, "Ma'am, you're going to have to leave." And we were out, so there's big doors that walk into the store, and then there's a porch, and then there's more doors. So he wanted to lock the outside doors, even though the inner doors were already locked and wasn't letting anybody else in. So we're standing. It was, of course, stormy and snowy and cold, and downtown, and she was a woman alone with a young girl loaded down with parcels. And it wasn't as rough as it is now downtown, but anyway, I just remember my mom started screaming at him. And I was like, what is she yelling about? And she kept saying to him, "Look, buddy, I was just shopping in your store. I'm waiting for a taxi." And he kept saying, "I don't care. I need to close my store. I need to close my store. I need to lock my doors." And she kept arguing back, "I was just shopping in your store, and I'm waiting until my taxi comes, and I'm not going to go out and sit on the sidewalk with this little girl." And he was and I'm just looking back now, the audacity for some young dude to be yelling at a young mom with a little girl at Christmas, and she had just spent hundreds of dollars in his store.
Yeah.
I mean, now I get it, but at the time I was
That's
mortified.
so funny, because now, like, I worked at Target in high school, and we've seen, like, all the TV shows where people work at department stores, and if there's somebody in the store when the store closes, they'll go up and tell you, like, we're closed, or we're closing in 5 minutes, or you need to get, they'll make the announcement. It's time you got to get up there and make your, purchases, but they'll never force you to leave. Like, you know what I mean? They have to. It's unfortunate for the retail workers, but they'll stay in there waiting.
Well, they get paid. They don't clock out. I mean,
exactly.
Let's be fair.
Exactly.
They're not getting cut off, and they're still getting paid.
But nobody would dare at Walmart or wherever say, like, we're closed, you got to leave.
Or to yell at a young mom with a little
Exactly.
girl. Like, just looking back, like, mom might have been kind of a warrior right there. So today, I really felt like I had embodied my mother, because here were my two sons going, "Mom, come on, stop. Please don't make a scene." Like, don't make a scene. Dudes, this is the price of an Uber to get us home, first of all.
Right.
And there's an advertising campaign bragging about how the government has cut out tax.
Yeah.
For the Christmas season, everybody go out and spend more money in the community, and you'll save the tax. And here we are buying children's boots. Again, it's not their fault that I married a giant, but whatever.
And that's funny that you mentioned that too, because I didn't really think about that, because we've been living here for a while. But when I don't know if it's the same, but in North Carolina where I grew up, sales tax was like 6%.
It's 15 here in Newfoundland.
15% is like, it's a good chunk. You spend $100 and it's a $15 tax portion.
Oh yeah,
that's a big chunk.
I just realized I gave away that reverse math there. It was $100 for boots. For 2 pairs, though. That'll last them as a good solid 3 months.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, they'll get through this winter.
Yeah.
I don't know. I tried. What's funny is when we got home.
I was happy to find boots.
I know.
There was such a, like...
We're all very excited.
Because they have giant feet, and it's not easy to find boots. And
when we got home, I tried on both of the pairs of boots.
Yeah. Why?
Because I thought...
Do you need boots?
No, I don't need boots. I just thought, is it possible that our 10-year-old and 13-year-old
could wear
have shoes that I can wear? Like I slipped on Peter's Crocs the other day to take the garbage out, and I was like, these pretty much fit me. Like I wouldn't wear them around, but
I remember those days. There was a very brief period
where they could wear your shoes.
They were wearing my shoes,
yeah,
and
they were little.
Were they walking?
This was while they were still in car seats.
But there was a brief period where we were able to share some Chuck Taylors, and that was pretty fun.
Henry constantly. He gets distracted, especially when he's going to go out and play with his friends or whatever. But he's constantly leaving with my shoes on. I'm like, Henry, I can't wear your shoes, even though your feet fit in my shoes. My feet don't fit in your shoes. But now it's like,
now they're the same.
It's all the same. I might as well just wear his shoes.
So your wardrobe just tripled.
My wardrobe tripled. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Lucky you. I get to wear sweatshirts that hang down to my knees, and I need to roll up 4 times on the cuffs just to. But I do always look like I have a boyfriend, which is a good look. I think I like that.
The boyfriend.
Because I was, you know what? I never thought I was meant for boyfriends or relationships because I had brothers that told me constantly how ugly I was.
Sorry about that.
So it was a real fun thing that, you know, 18. I got 18
I'll be right back.
years.
I'm going to go find him and punch him in the face.
I got 18 years out of this, whatever this outfit is that whatever this concoction of limbs is that makes up me. And
guts, black stuff, about 50 Slim Jims. That's from The Simpsons.
Anyway, take that, older brothers. My little brother is a lot nicer. I mean, I think he is. Of course, you can go listen to a song I wrote about him called Jimmy Glenn. Go look that up on Mulberry Creek. Someone asked me about that today. They were telling somebody else, "Oh, you got to hear that song Vickie wrote about her brother." Anyway, he was very, very, very nice, and I miss him. And I'm hoping that one of these days, maybe he'll consider coming back to Newfoundland and maybe living down the road. Now, I can't go pick him up anymore. But you know, he could get a bus. I could send him a bus pass, and he could come on over and visit, hang out with us. But it'd be pretty fun to see him. But he was actually nice. He was never like he didn't really fit the mold because it was pretty rough with all those brothers around. They were kind of rough, and I didn't really have room to be a girl. It's that much more ironic that I'm headlining at Ladies' Night because some people think I'm a lady, or at least a girl, or at least presenting as a female.
You are a lady.
Did you like that, presenting as a female?
Presenting, yeah. You're a female presenting.
Yeah.
So after we left Canadian Tire,
that's not disparaging against anybody in the trans community whatsoever. I just really have always had trouble with identifying as a girl or as a female.
You know, that's your experience. You're completely.
It was just never. There was never room to be a girl. I didn't think. But anyway, so I'm not sure what I'm going to joke about tomorrow. I got some ideas. I've had some ideas that I've been kind of bouncing around.
Tomorrow's is pretty exciting because you got called by Josh Mentions, who runs Last Minute Comedy, and asked if you wanted to headline for Ladies' Night this month, and that's very exciting.
Yeah,
that's 20 minutes of 20 minutes of Vickie time.
So I'm trying to figure out if I should do it as Ginger Sparkledust. But
now, last time you headlined a show was at the Black Sheep last month, and you played a couple songs. Are you going to play any music or just going to straight up jokes?
Because I heard a phrase on a couple of podcasts where they called somebody a guitar comedian. And I don't know what that means, but maybe I am one, and I just don't know. Because I do like to write funny songs. But anyway.
I think you do what feels good, man.
I think I got 20 minutes of material. And then I need 10 for the following night in Mount Pearl. So that's kind of funny that I'm
Which is only half.
Yes, good math. Homeschool. #homeschool. So I got a few things that I think are kind of funny. And I've been researching, and I know this is like, well, she's known for 2 weeks that she's going to headline. She hasn't written it yet. And like, no, that's it. I've been composing, and I've been writing bits, and I've been trying out bits on Josh for the last, at least the last week. I'll come down and tell him a whole bit, and he'll say, yeah, that's pretty good. And sometimes he'll go, that's funny. And that means it isn't. The kids are horrified by everything I joke about, so they're not great judges of what an audience is going to like. But I think
they're too busy looking at their little phones and their little Fortnites, and they're just
Grandpa,
too busy.
Yell at a cloud. But yeah, I think it's pretty normal for them to be embarrassed or whatever by what mom jokes about. But anyway, their friends think it's very cool that I'm a stand-up comedian and that we're in a band.
Yeah, they do. Their friends think that we're way cooler than our boys think we are.
And that's okay. That's exactly how it should be, because for our boys, it's normal. And for their friends, there's like, your mom, we had a book signing a few weeks back, and the boys had some friends over, and they were like, how'd your mom's book go? And it's pretty cool to hear that.
Yeah.
And they're pretty impressed with the instruments in the house, and we're living a pretty fun life. I got to say, we might not have a car, but I'm pretty impressed with all the creative things that we do, and
we're artists,
it's a good
man.
life.
That's it.
We did try something out this week that was really fun. It was an instant choir down at the Rooms. So the Rooms is a big...
it's a museum.
It's in provincial archives and a museum all in one. And so there's all kinds of installments down there, and the boys actually love it. It's 4 stories.
Really nice.
It's a beautiful structure. It's a very big structure in the landscape. So when you're looking at the view of St. John's,
it's one of those.
It pops.
What's the city skyline?
Cityscape. Like skyline. Yeah.
Cities that have some, like the CN Tower in Toronto.
We should put a picture. We got some drone footage that you took, I think, of the city. So we should put that into the video part of the podcast.
I know the basilica's in it, but I don't know if the...
So people were pretty angry. A lot of people were angry because it did change the cityscape pretty drastically. But it's a beautiful facility, and there's a great restaurant on top. Great pie. I'm going to recommend the pie. It was delicious. But we went for this instant choir, and the boys agreed to go with us.
Which was surprising, because they're not usually super excited about performing, and they need to be convinced sometimes.
Well, they have never been a part of a choir. They don't do public school. They don't do those those things. Yeah. So we did, of course, promise that we would go play Pokemon afterwards. So that helped.
It was a Pokemon day. So yeah, it was like, we'll go to this choir thing and then we'll do Pokemon after.
So we, I think I'm going to say there was about 60, 70, maybe 80 people all in the big foyer with a beautiful view of the harbor. It was a gorgeous day.
It was really nice.
And this beautiful Julia Halfyard taught us to do a song. And it was the first time I think I've ever heard us all sing in one spot. It was really nice. We dressed up like fools.
We all had on
all the Christmas stuff,
gear.
all the accoutrement. And it was pretty nice to have you guys standing behind me and hearing the little voices coming out of our kids singing in tune, singing along, participating. It was pretty fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. It was really nice. I know there was a couple of times where I turned around and the kids were goofing. It was an hour, so, attention spans are, I have trouble staying still for an hour. So there was a couple of times where I turned around and there was this old lady kind of giving you guys a side eye. So I was up front giving her the side eye like this.
We didn't even notice.
So I was like, come on, Mrs. I dare you, say something.
We were just
say something to my kids that are having fun at Christmas. And she didn't. She just nothing happened. Literally nothing happened. Yeah. But she looked like she was a little annoyed that the boys were kind of goofing. With you were the ringleader, I got to say. The boys were very well behaved, and my husband is kind of a instigator and kind of a...
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So he kind of leads the charge with the crazy. And but anyway, it went really well.
I'm
and
just
beautiful.
checking to see if they have posted that video, because
I haven't seen it.
It was...
It's an organization called Growing the Voices.
It wasn't a week ago. It was only Saturday.
Yeah. It was called I think it was called Growing the Voices, and it was really nice. I had not done that before, but it was a free event, and they taught us how to do some harmony parts for a song, and the boys, it was really great. I had a couple of friends there with us, and we had a great little lunch afterwards, had a little bit of apple pie, a view of the city, watched the sun go down because it was 3:00 in the afternoon. Of course the sun was going down.
And we did play Pokemon, and we did have a very successful Pokemon day. The boys got all the Pokemon they were trying to catch.
Yeah, it's been a really great week.
Yeah.
Lots of Christmas stuff. And, of course, Christmas. So Wednesday next week is Christmas Day. So I would imagine. I think we should aim to have a podcast out for Christmas Day because...
why not?
I don't know. I just remember many years. This one is no different. I have a fantastic family. Everybody's healthy. But it is a really hard time of year.
Yeah. There's a lot of pressure, and there's a lot of, especially with the days being so short, it's brutal.
Well, there's a lot of pretty lights out, and, it's just a really lonely time of year sometimes. And that pressure to get it all perfect and to have, abundance, all the things that, and I remember so many years that we just went crazy on Christmas presents. And the boys you just don't have that much attention to give to all the things.
Yeah.
They would find 2 or 3 things, and I think most parents will tell you the exact same story. So for young parents that are listening, they're probably going to play with the box. that something came in. They're probably, and it's the stuff that you'll never imagine that they really get drawn to. And like, they don't need 90 presents. They really don't.
One year we had so much individual little toys for Christmas. And then like we would, like the next year, we'd find stuff in their room still in the box. Like, hey guys, did you know you didn't even open this? Like, yeah, we had so much.
Yeah.
You know.
But this year I think is shaping up. Like, it's been a really good December. So many years ago I started writing a blog when we were living our first year living in the US, and I started writing a blog about how stressful I found Christmas. And I remember my mom emailed and she was like, "Since when do you not like Christmas?" I'm like, "Since ever." So I think that, I mean, that's kind of lends itself to, that's maybe why I'm on stage now, because I maybe had some acting skills that I developed. But I talked a lot about stress. And so a lot of times in the month of December, like getting close to the month of December, I would start to have some anxiety symptoms and PTSD would flare up, and I would have trouble swallowing. I would have so, you know, people are making these big delicious meals for us and stuff. I would be there like chewing on a piece of mashed potato for 20 minutes. And that just sounds like an exaggeration. It's not. It would be in my cheek. Like, I just couldn't, it would just close over and I'd feel like I just couldn't get it down. I just couldn't get food down. So anyway, luckily this year has been really, really good for the anxiety and stress.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I would imagine biologically speaking, all the walks.
We're getting lots of fresh air.
Lots of fresh air, lots of actual exercise. So I'm tired. Yep. So I'm not awake all night long. I'm sleeping peacefully because I've had fresh air and exercise. And maybe that helps. You know, maybe I'm learning something just from this whole no car thing.
Yeah. So after we left Canadian Tire with 2 new pairs of boots, we did go do some more shopping. We went over to Walmart. We went over to Bulk Barn. We got a big bag of ranch seasoning because we've been out and we use it for popcorn and ramen noodles.
Yeah, I'm not sending somebody from Instacart to pick out bulk powders. Like
scoop stuff out of a bin at Bulk Barn. Yeah, no, we'll get that on our own.
Yeah.
But we found these really delicious. We want to get some new nacho chips because we got some cheese dip that we made yesterday, and we found these chips that were like it's just like Tostitos or whatever, but they're like a hint of, you know, they have like a hint of lime cheddar and hint of jalapeno. They had these, it was a hint of zesty cheddar. I was like, that sounds terrible. Like a Dorito sneezed on this chip.
Gross.
But it was actually it was delicious.
The bag is empty.
I was eating the crumbs out of the bag before we came down here.
So Josh makes this really delicious dip that we did have at our wedding. So that's kind of cute.
Oh yeah, we made it for our anniversary. Look
so we had a wedding that cost $500. So I don't want you to be too intimidated by that, to be like, oh, we can't be friends with them because they're too fancy.
Pretty fancy.
Did that include the rings?
No, I think that was just the wedding, but the rings weren't much.
I think it might have been the whole thing. So we had our wedding reception catered by Walmart. We had dips and cheese ball, like, you know, the big cheese ball with the, you know, slivered almonds on the whatever, and crackers. So and fancy. Our friend Steve Power and Heather Cow were there, and Steve played guitar for us for a little while. And we actually had, so our friend Aiden just had a birthday a couple of days ago, and he did, actually tomorrow night and the next night, 18th and 19th, he's doing Penning the Carol at the LSPU Hall.
He does a really cool show that is... so he plays Charles Dickens writing A Christmas Carol.
He's gorgeous.
So he goes through. It's a one-man show, and he does everything. It's like during a party.
He does all the characters.
He sneaks away to a room and writes the book, and then he's going through all the characters as he's writing it. So Aiden is playing Dickens, playing
Tiny Tim,
Bob
and
Cratchit, and Scrooge, and it's really really cool. We've seen
it's pretty
a bunch
cool.
of times.
Like you wouldn't think. But between the lighting design and Aiden's, like, Aiden has a rubber face and he's able to do all those characters so well. But with the lighting design and stuff and the directing, and I think it's someone different directs it every year. I don't know if it's not the same person every year.
So he did that for us.
So there's interpretations. Yeah. So that was our wedding reception. We had Aiden. That was our wedding gift. Aiden was running a little theater called Rabbitown Theater. We got married in a little tiny theater in St. John's with all of our friends, and Aiden, that was our reception, as he performed Penning the Carol for us. And so, but you can check
it was a pretty hippie wedding. Looking back now, it's like, no, it makes sense that we might have struggled through corporate jobs for a little while and teaching and things like that. But like, it makes sense that we're hippie artists now.
Yeah. It was, well, we were surrounded by people that, you know, and I remember my Uncle Dennis, of course, isn't with us anymore, but I remember he pulled up in the parking lot that night, and he was like kind of gasping for air. And I was like, what's wrong? And he was asking if we had any soda. And I was like, yeah, for the reception. Like, why? And he was like, can you just get me a can of soda? Because he was choking on a candy.
We were like, no, it's for the reception.
Yeah, no, I didn't know what was wrong at the time, but I remember he was like getting kind of, like a little, there wasn't
blue in the face.
A little blue. And he was still able to talk, but it was lodged in his throat. And he was asking for a drink to make the candy go down. And I was just like, I miss him so much. So much. We lost him so many years ago. And he is one person that I just wish was still here for Christmas, because he would have loved our boys so much. He would have got such a kick out of both of them. But I just remember that was at the wedding, and he was important. So I miss him a lot. So it is.
He was a good guy.
He was fantastic, and he died pretty early into our relationship. But he was like a dad to me, and he treated me like he was the words the stuff that scarred me in my lifetime. It certainly none of it came from him, because he just treated me like his little girl, and he was wonderful. So anyway, it's funny to see things work out sometimes, and you kind of get this little nudge of like there's somebody looking out for you that might be. So every now and then, like I'll smell something, or I'll get like I'll smell the soap that he used, and it's like a little nudge, like I don't know. I don't. This time of year, years ago, and I know you've mentioned this a few times too to me, that years ago, Christmas was really associated with ghost stories.
Yeah, that's why Dickens wrote that story, was because there was a lot of like telling ghost stories, and that's in the song too, right? Scary ghost stories and tales of the glories of Christmases. Yeah. So it is that time of year. It seems weird, but that's.
I know Halloween is supposed to be the time of year when the veil between this world and the other world is thin, but I think Christmas is a big one, because you feel people around, and I think that's why it's so hard, is when you don't feel the people around you. Like when you're really keenly aware that people have gone and they're not with us anymore. So I think if you can sit still with a nice cup of tea, and if you can just sit still for just a couple of minutes and watch some twinkling lights, I feel like that's when you get like that little, like, tingle up the back of your neck, or like to let people know, or you find a dime or a feather or little things or just something that means something to you. That's what I've been understanding, is that if it means something to you, then it is something. It is a sign.
Yeah.
And that's not to say I don't mean to be all woo woo, whatever, but it's important. Your feelings. Getting those feelings are important, and just like it's important to go to a comedy show and have a laugh and just forget about everything that's going on, I think that's important. Feelings are so huge.
You mentioned we'll try to do an episode for next Wednesday for Christmas Day. Maybe that we'll do some like calm, relaxing meditations, ASMR, or you know what I mean? Like give people, if you need to take the phone into a pantry while you're at your family's house for dinner, just listen to our podcast, and we'll give you some. Just close your eyes.
If you want to imagine the phones from years ago that had the long cords that you can wrap around your mother-in-law's neck, if she says one more thing about how her son's life, I don't know, whatever you're into, I don't know,
whatever.
It's just funny, and some really good memories I got too of Christmas is one year we were in North Carolina and we got to spend it with your grandmother. And do you remember there was like 16 of us in that little house out in the mountains, and there was just sleeping bags everywhere, and
it was us and my mom and her brother and his wife and all of her kids and all of their boyfriends and girlfriends.
Yeah.
And we were all just sleeping on the floor, and
they had cheese dip then too.
We had some.
That's the first time I had cheese dip and cocktail weenies. So Granny makes a little mixture with cocktail weenies where she puts mustard and grape jelly. And it is, I know that sounds but it is so good. It's like a barbecue sauce.
It's barbecue sauce, yeah.
It was but the food, I remember the food from the South was so delicious. I miss that. Like, I'm really looking forward to go back to North Carolina.
Traditional Southern foods like Taco Bell and Sonic and
Cracker Barrel.
Big vats of sweet tea at every fast food restaurant you go
to. Not a fan of cold tea. By the time tea gets cold, it's time to throw that out.
I had a big cup when we started the podcast, but
our boys are hooked on sweet tea. They love it. When I say hooked, it is decaf, so it's not like they're actually addicted to it.
I made some yesterday, and we got through a gallon of it in the day. Like, it was gone. And today, so I was washing dishes with the boys this morning, and Henry was like, okay, Peter, we're making another gallon of tea. Don't drink it all this time. And I was like, Henry, we all share. He was like, I had 1 cup. You guys drank all of it.
Oh, so he came in last night so mad at Peter, and he was like, Peter, you had 3 cups of sweet tea. I'm like, honey, it's a gallon. There was more than 3 cups in it, so you might want to yell at your dad.
So this is funny because like we have some people in the South listening to the podcast, and they're like, yeah, sweet tea, obviously it's everywhere. I drink it all the time. It's at every restaurant. And people here in Newfoundland are like, what the hell is sweet tea?
Yeah. It's funny.
I guess people from here go to Florida and they go to the South.
No, nobody. There's been a few people, like our friend Cody that runs Blue Smoke Barbecue. He knows about sweet tea. But unless there's a connection to the South, sweet tea is not a thing. It's pretty gross.
It's not gross.
I can't imagine not putting milk in my tea. Like I would turn that away. I would say, no thanks, that's not tea.
I don't want to talk about it anymore.
But of course, Josh is not a fan of hot tea. So our boys are
I love hot tea.
Hybrids.
I just would not put milk in it.
Our boys are hybrids. They love stuff from Newfoundland and Canada, and they love stuff from the South.
Yeah, they have a very well-rounded palate.
Do you remember that Thanksgiving we went to Costco with Henry, or was it Sam's Club?
That was Sam's Club in Maine.
And they had a sample of all the fixings for Thanksgiving dinner.
It was Thanksgiving dinner sample days at Sam's Club. So they had like this great big long table of samples, and it would be like a little sample of mashed potatoes, a little sample of cranberry sauce, a little sample of turkey meat, a little sample of gravy, and it was like you'd have these little tiny plates with like a little miniature version of a Thanksgiving dinner.
And Henry was a baby that year, and everybody there fell in love with him, and so he was asking for like, can I have some more sweet potato casserole, and can I have more? This past year, I have discovered the value in making things by hand. I liked sewing years ago. I tried to make things on my own because it was like I'd look at something and go, sure, how hard can that be? And then nothing ever lined up. Like the seams didn't line up and it didn't quite fit right. But when I discovered using patterns where it actually tells you specifically what to cut out and where to sew it, amazing.
Yeah.
So satisfying.
It's pretty impressive to see it all come together when you're making a pattern like that. Okay. Is it time to end the podcast for tonight?
How long have we been on there?
A little over an hour.
Oh, that's more than enough.
Yeah.
We went way over last time. It was closer to 2 hours.
That's true.
Bless the hearts of the people that actually watched all the way through.
We're not Nate Bargatze. We can't be doing 2 hour podcast.
I would do 2 hours if I was hanging out with 2 other.
That's true. Yeah. If you had Nate Bargatze in the room, you'd hang out as long as you could.
Are you just trying to fit his name into the podcast 5 or 6 more times?
I just want to make it really hard for the
algorithm
for the captions to pick up what we're saying.
I have been really enjoying that podcast. I'm going to recommend again Nateland Podcast. It is hilarious. So funny. And it's getting me through December. I'm so glad there's more than 200 episodes, and we're not even halfway through. We're not even up to number 50 yet. And it's just fantastic, and they're so funny. And I'm loving hearing all the stories. Like watching somebody dream something into reality is just incredible. So loving Nateland Podcast. And one of these days, I'd love to be in the same room. He goes on other people's podcasts, you know.
That's true. We have seen a lot of those.
That's been popping up in the YouTube algorithm as interviews that he's done with other people. Yeah. So I don't know how that happens, but so the goal for the new year, I'm taking little baby steps towards it. Headlining is going to really help, and my comedy age is. Nate said it. I was watching something the other day, and he was talking about comedy age, and he said it doesn't matter how old you are. It's you start counting when you start calling yourself a stand-up comedian.
Nice.
So. In that sense, I'm very, very new and loving it, and I'm going to put in the years. I just want to keep doing it.
So if you're listening to this fresh, Vickie's headlining tonight, the 18th of December, at Last Minute Comedy at the Peter Easton Pub.
Yep.
And tomorrow night, the 19th of December, at Landwash Brewery in Mount Pearl. That's not a headlining gig, but that's 10 minutes. That's going to still be a long set.
Yep.
So.
And it's in the same building. There's a Johnny and Mae's truck there, which is delicious.
Oh, man, I forgot about Johnny and Mae's.
Yep.
That might be trouble.
Nah, it's going to be delicious. So we got those, and then after that, I don't think we have anything on the slate.
Just the podcast.
Just a podcast. And so I did work on, should we, okay, very briefly, where did I leave off last week with the podcasting stuff? Did we talk about Shopify yet?
We did talk about Shopify and making the site, and
so felt very, very old going through and making a Shopify.
We could talk about you've been doing the podcast notes, show notes.
Yes. So I'm paying attention to all the advice on launching a podcast, marketing and promotion, and very laid back, not anything too intense, but letting people know. And so putting it on. We started a website. I did ask you over the summer to make me a website with an e-commerce component, and you said, I don't know how to do that.
I had no idea.
I just assumed it was. I thought it was a thing that graphic designers did, but it's not. So I was like, well, I don't know. I'll figure it out.
I'll happily design you a website once we find out where to
and so now that the structure is there, so we found, so through Shopify, you can set up an e-commerce, and there's like the payment, there's a mechanism there to accept payments and safely and securely, and so your information, like it's trusted sites that are taking payments, Google Pay, PayPal,
Apple Pay.
all the things that you would normally not even give a second thought. And so that's on there.
You can send a check. We got one of those machines that goes over the credit card from the 80s. What do you call those? Credit card impression machines?
Getting on my last nerve.
We don't have
what
one of those.
Called.
That's a joke.
Okay.
I got to keep it light. It's a comedy podcast.
Is it? Yeah. And brand new out today is the ebook for the Grace of Joe is available. It was on KDP Select. So if you're a self-publishing student of mine, there's a thing you can do on KDP where basically your book becomes part of this massive library, and somebody that's a member of Prime, or I don't know, can basically read your book for free. And I don't know where the money comes from, but
I think it's Prime members, Amazon Prime members. So
there's some kind of a basket of money that you share in if anybody reads a few of your pages. I've made $0, 0 pennies on that, and so I was locked in because I didn't have a website and I wasn't selling. So, but I do sell the book for the Grace of Joe. Of course, is about our loss. Joe would have been 11 this year. We lost Joe a few years ago. Oh, should I tell the story about the lady that I met at the bookstore the other day?
Sure, yeah, that's a good idea.
So for the Grace of Joe, when we were expecting a baby 11, so it would have been 12 years ago, we found out during the pregnancy that he had trisomy 13, and he had all the markers. It's a genetic condition. It comes up in just about every system in the body, so he had problems with his brain, with his stomach, with his feet, with his palate, with his heart. I mean, it was everywhere. So they warned us he had extra fingers and toes. They told us he probably wasn't going to survive, and we carried him for 6.5 weeks after that. It was intense. So while we were carrying that baby, I said, if there was this, you kind of have these experiences in your life, and sometimes I would see families that have, a child in a wheelchair, or someone that was, causing a fuss in a restaurant, or, had stimming or different things. And before I had kids, I wasn't very politically correct. I was very insensitive, I think, to those things.
It's hard to put yourself in somebody else's shoes when you haven't experienced that.
It was a flash of, and I would say, and I wasn't a religious person, but I would say, there, but for the grace of God, go I. As a Catholic, I don't know if Catholics is just them, but I'm sure lots of religions have that phrase. And so when we got pregnant and we're expecting a baby with all these things, I said, well, this is it. This is the thing that I've been, afraid would happen, and here we are. And it's not, this is not that bad. So I wanted to name the baby Grace. And we had the non-invasive NIPT, is called a non-invasive prenatal testing, where they could tell from my blood, they could check his DNA material and actually diagnose what he had. And he was diagnosed with Patau syndrome, which is trisomy 13. And we found out from that test that he was a boy. They couldn't tell from the ultrasound because he had what they called ambiguous genitals. And what that means is the ultrasound technician was too lazy to look. They could have told by then. It was pretty obvious that it was a boy. But they didn't check. They were kind of rushing us out. And that's all in the book. So
Grace became Joe
when we
Grayson.
found out that we were having a boy, we named him Joe. And I wanted to include the name, so we called him Joe Grayson. And so this past week, I had a beautiful friend visiting from Ontario. She was in town to see her play mounted at the LSPU Hall, and it was a gorgeous play. So we were sitting in a bookstore, and we're just talking and, encouraging each other and saying all kinds of, doing what friends do when they haven't seen each other in a few years, just catching up, and saying and so I happened to say to her, oh my God, I had a sign today. I saw 2 crows. And this lady that was sitting, pretty close to us, but like,
just a stranger at the coffee shop.
Yeah, far enough away that it was none of her business what we were talking about. Like, she was really leaning in to hear us. She said, "I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I just heard what you said about crows." Now, of course, the phrase, the saying is 1 for sorrow, 2 for joy, 3 for a girl, 4 for a boy. So
that keeps going. I saw that somewhere. It's like 5
Yeah,
for this,
but that's
6
silly.
for this,
Whoever sees more than 5.
That's
I mean, that's crazy. That's just whatever. But it does continue on, and there's poems about it and stuff. So but I took it as a good sign. I was on my way to see my friend. I was very excited to see her, and I was walking and past 2 crows on a lawn. They were very close to me, which is also a sign when animals, especially birds, get very close to you. It's that you take it as a sign that you're on the right track, things are going well. So I shared this with my friend, and I said, I saw 2 crows today. And this lady goes, "I'm sorry to interrupt and eavesdrop, but I heard what you said about crows." And she said, "I just wanted to tell you that crows are very important to me too." And I'm going, "Okay, sure, yeah." And then she said, "I had this friend who had crows in her yard, and there was one particular crow that she used to feed, and she named the crow." And I'm going, "Okay."
All right.
And she said the crow's name was Joe. And so I got chills. The hair stood up on my arms and up the back of my neck, and I was like, "Oh, wow." I said, "I have a book," and we were sitting right next to the bookstore in the mall. And I said, "I have a book next door about my son Joe who died." And she was like, "Okay." And so she's looking at me then like I'm a crazy person. So we switched gears. But then she started telling us about, I said, "I have this story that after our dog Harley died," Harley was 14. 14?
Yeah.
15, yeah.
14.
So the day after Harley died, we were out in the backyard building a shed, and this had never happened to me in my entire life, but a bird landed on my shoulder. And it was long enough for me to say to you and Henry and Peter, "There's a bird on my shoulder." And so this lady goes, "Oh, okay." She said, "So we're talking about birds." And then she says, I said we had lost our dog, and it was very important. And I had, she was a wonderful little friend, and I missed her. And she said, "Well, if anything ever happened to my cat, I don't know what I would do." And I was just like, I wasn't really invested, even though she had said she had a friend with a crow named Joe. I was like, okay, that's a coincidence. Mm-hmm. But then she said, this little cat, she was at her friend's house. Her friend owns a farm, and there was a feral cat who had a bunch of kittens under the porch. Yep. And she was over visiting one day, and the friend of hers said, "Grab that kitten before it goes in under the porch, because we don't want it to get in there and get wild or whatever." Or whatever happens to them, she didn't want it to be outside. So they grabbed this little kitten, and it's all busted up. Its eyes are all messed up and whatever. And so she takes this little kitten to the vet, and the vet says, "Honey, this cat is," she didn't say honey, "I'm sorry, ma'am, but this kitten is dying." And so this woman said, "Well, let's let this cat's life run its natural course. Like, I'll do whatever I need to do." So she took this little kitten home, fed it with a dropper, gave it medicine to fix its eye and to fix all. It was dying. Like, so she brought it back she nursed it back to health. Yep. She's had the cat for 12 years.
Jeez.
And she called the cat Grace. So whoever's listening, I hope you get little signs of people that are letting you know that they're thinking about you and that they're doing okay and that you're going to be okay. Because it's that time of year. Okay. Everything's going to be okay. So thanks for listening.
We hope everybody has a nice and relaxing and
peaceful,
happy and joyful month.
Yeah. It's a hard time of year. And it's I hope we, do something to hope we made you forget about stuff for a few minutes for whatever reason. I hope something resonates with you. And I would encourage people to start their own podcast and write their own books, because it is amazing to connect with people on those stories that connect us are really important. And of course, next week, maybe during the Christmas episode, I'll do some more stuff. But I really, I'm learning a lot about how to let people know about podcasts, how to get the keywords in there in the show notes, and how to promote it, and how to let people know, because it's one thing to record it, it's a whole other thing to share it with listeners.
That's true. Yeah.
And make sure it gets you connected with the people that actually will connect with you, that actually feel, you find your people.
Yep. That's
really what it comes down to. And of course, if you want to check out any of those books, For the Grace of Joe is now available ebook and audiobook directly from our website. And How to Fail at Documentary Filmmaking, which has lots of Ginger Sparkledust stories. and Alan Doyle stories, which are also pretty fun. And so that's
Vickie stories.
How to Fail at Documentary Filmmaking, all available on our website, selfpublishednl.com. And we put a lot of work into that. It was fun. When I say lots of work, I mean I didn't have a clue what I was doing, and it took a long time to figure it out. We learned a lot. Yeah. And so now, I could do that for someone else probably if they wanted me to. Yeah. But it's funny because it was the same way self-publishing happened. We just did 1,000 Google searches and figured it out. So, but that means you can too. Everybody, there's nothing beyond your reach. If you can think it, if you can say it out loud, there's a pretty good chance of that happening. So anyway, I think that's it for this week. We'll try our very best to have another episode ready for Christmas Day. Well, we got to get this one out for tomorrow first. But anyway, honey, happy anniversary. Happy anniversary. I'm looking forward to at least another year. Yeah, hopefully. Jeez. I think we're doing pretty good with 18 years. It really has been. It's been a good run. I would marry you again tomorrow. Yeah, I'd marry you again too. Yeah, that's pretty nice. That's a good place to be. So anyway, congratulations on marrying me. Lucky you. You done good. Thank you for listening. And thanks for the kids. Thanks for making me a mom. Yeah. They're pretty lucky to have you. We're very lucky to have these kids. They're hilarious and sweet. And ridiculous. And very ridiculous. And with the giant feet. And their boots still got to have dry feet. And thanks to a store manager at Canadian Tire who threw us a bone, gave us some material today, because that was it was pretty triumphant. Like, I did not wink at Shannon on the way out the door, but her name's not really Shannon. That's a joke. So this has been Are You Mad at Me? And Shannon, are you mad at me? Thank you for listening. We'll talk to you next week. See you, folks.